What would you say about the Teutonic Knights in terms of their position within the Christian world at that time? They have a pretty bad reputation now. I mean, I know Christian said that pretty much every atrocity imaginable has been attributed to them. But do you think that their ideology and the way they approached governing and converting these people, was it in line with the way that Latin Christendom in general was thinking, or were they a little bit more hardcore, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, the conditions were such that they were probably a little more hardcore, I think, than your average Templar or Hospitaller or any of the other orders that we associate with the Holy Land, although these are all sort of continental orders. They all had houses and priories from the Holy Land throughout Europe, really, throughout what is now Europe, as opposed to other orders which were quite local, say just on the Iberian frontier, something like that. What is distinctive about them is that they did constitute the government, right? This Ordensstaat, this order state, Teutonic order state, which, if you look at a map of the era, is quite extensive. Is for a long time, until it's actually stopped by force of arms. It continues to grow. It's a very successful operation, if you like. And as you know, of course, the members of the order were never crusaders in the strict sense of that term. It was a different kind of animal, but they were fighting in the Crusades, which I think is the important point. So they had a presence in the Holy Land, for example, and they drew recruits and resources from across Latin Christendom. But of course, they were focused primarily in the north, in the Baltic and German parts of Latin Christendom. The standards of brutality and propriety were a little different. I know you know this back then.
Oh yeah.
I think the great success of the order and indeed of the Baltic, the Northern Crusades, was they really did expand Christendom. And even if in the short run, in the Wendish period, they didn't do much by way of conversion, well, that was always going to be a long-term social phenomenon. Establishing the politics, right? Establishing a system of government in which it was a good thing to be a Christian is obviously going to incline rational people maybe over a generation to decide to become members of the church. It's worth pointing out, too, by the way, that at least one interpretation of the Crusades to the Holy Land has let me back up. Several, maybe it's the consensus view now, is that in the Holy Land, people weren't, when the initial Arab Muslim conquest took place, people weren't flocking to convert. In fact, they weren't encouraged to convert for a variety of reasons initially. But over time, when you had an Islamic state in place, a government in place, over generations, most people rationally made the choice that if I want to get on in life, I've got to be a Muslim. And so made that decision. So I wouldn't want to push the parallel too far, but I think it's interesting. I think there's a common, it's a common dynamic, although operating maybe in reverse, at one end of Latin Christendom and the other.
Thanks for watching. This channel posts a new video or podcast every Monday. My historical novel, Why Does the Heathen Rage?, is available now on Amazon. Click on the link in the info box below the video to get your copy. Also, check out the Real Crusades History blog at realcrusadeshistory.com, where Dr. Helena Schroeder posts a weekly article on Crusades history.